has been a while, hasn't it?
Not long enough.
Oh, please, Richard, don't start already. This is going to be unpleasant enough without you having one of your tantrums the whole time.
Give me a break, Rachel. You don't want to be here any more than I do.
No, I don't. But I'm going to make the best of it. A couple of days with the family will be worth suffering through to be here for the reading of the will. The letter said anyone who didn't come would lose their share. I'm sure Granddad got a kick out of that stipulation, forcing us to be together at the same time.
Probably figured we'd kill each other off so none of us would get anything.
That's not funny.
I didn't necessarily mean it to be. The old bastard did have a twisted sense of humor. Oh, and so it begins. I wonder who that'll be. Well, the lovely Alexis. All alone?
Yes, I thought I'd go solo. No need to subject an unsuspecting man to the fun and games. Has anyone else arrived, or am I blessed with just your company?
It's just us so far. Sorry to disappoint you.
Oh, you don't. Same dreary place. I guess it is appropriate, though. Cold and unfeeling, just like Granddad.
It does reflect his personality, doesn't it?
Well, he's about as cold and unfeeling as he can get now. Maybe he was dead all the time and we just didn't know it.
Oh, Richard, I'm glad to see you have the same lack of humor. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant sense.
That's all right, Alexis. You were right the first time.
Hello, everyone. Isn't it going to be great to have the whole family together?
Oh, just wonderful. And on such a happy occasion.
It is for some of us.
Well, I meant to say under the circumstances.
Your brother and what's her name coming along soon?
They're outside parking the car. We drove up together. And her name is Catherine.
Oh, that's right. Catherine with a Y. She prefers to be called Kate, doesn't she?
Richard, you know she hates that. Please don't. I can't stand it when she sulks.
No, she doesn't sulk anymore. She cries. It gets her more sympathy.
That's not nice, Elena. She is our sister-in-law. How would you like to be married to Jackson?
Now that's a kinky idea.
Richard, shut up.
Am I allowed to say anything?
Maybe we should take a vote on that. I know how I'd vote.
Okay, everyone, this is no way to start our stay here. Can't we all just get along? We are family, after all.
Yes, we are.
Oh, Jackson, so nice to see you.
Thank you, Alexis. It's nice to see you too. Rachel, Richard.
Where are the servants? What are we supposed to do with our things?
There was a girl here a moment ago.
Did you ring the bell? I don't remember hearing it. The servants aren't psychic, you know.
Well, I just thought they'd be here waiting for us.
Your grandfather's become quite frugal in recent years. There's only myself and the maid Caroline. Cook comes except on the weekend, Frank the handyman when there's a need. We don't have time to be standing around waiting to see if we're needed. You'll have to ring.
Well, she's a barrel of laughs as usual.
Now, Catherine, don't be so hard on her, my dear. She's been here since before any of us were even born. Being around Granddad that long, bound to suck the life out of anyone. She had to be tough, just to survive.
I don't buy that excuse.
You don't buy anything, Kate. Jax does.
Richard, don't. It's all right, Rachel. I was wondering how long it would take.
Okay, everyone, can't we all just pretend to get along? I don't know why you have to be like this.
It's because we're family, remember?
Honestly, Richard, can't you at least try to keep your mouth shut?
Don't worry, Rachel. We're all used to it. We just consider the source.
That's enough. Let's call a truce. All this fighting, we should be celebrating. The old man's dead. I think that calls for a toast.
drinking without me? What's the occasion?
Shouldn't be that hard to figure out.
Oh, I see. You're celebrating my arrival. How kind of you.
Ha ha, very funny.
Actually, we were drinking to Granddad's health, or rather lack of it. I would offer you a drink, but I don't see any more glasses.
Here, John, you can have mine. I didn't like him much, and I'm not sad that he's gone, but drinking to his death does seem a little bit cruel to me.
Thank you, Jess. I see your point. But I see theirs as well. To Granddad, may he have as much enjoyment in death as he gave others in life. Well said, John. That would truly be a well-deserved fate.
Oh, hey, big sister. It's about time you guys got here. I've been stranded here in this den of iniquity with no one to defend me. What took you guys so long?
We had a flat, and I haven't changed a tire in years. I need to wash my hands before anything else.
You can use the washroom off the hall. This way.
Have you heard from Patrick and Mary? I hope their flight didn't get delayed. I heard there's been some bad weather over there.
Well, last I heard, their flight was due to land at LaGuardia this morning, so they're probably on their way here by now.
I hope so. I haven't seen them in over a year.
Neither have we, but they seem happy in London. Mary's family is there, after all.
Yes, but Patrick's family is here. We shouldn't have to wait a year just to see them. And it probably would have been even longer if this hadn't happened.
Thank God it did then, eh?
Did I ask for your opinion? What are you doing lurking around and eavesdropping for anyway? Shouldn't you be keeping your wife company?
Oh, she's talking to Jess and Elena. I don't want to be part of that conversation.
Well, you can't be part of this one either. Go join the guys over there. He is so annoying.
I know. I feel sorry for Rachel.
I suppose you do.
Ah, just in time, Mrs. D. I could use a drink after that drive. Anyone else?
Well, there's a new family patriarch. The eldest son of the eldest son. Wonder what his share is going to be.
More than yours or mine, I'm sure. Besides, we won't get anything. Our wives will.
Well, looks like we're all here. I'm not going to beat around the bush. This family has never been very close. We've been quite far apart, to be honest. But since we're here, and in honor of Grandfather, can we try to put aside our differences for the next few days? After that, we can go our separate ways. But until then, can we try to act like a family?
That might be possible, Patrick, if we knew how a family is supposed to act.
Well, I should have expected something like that from you, Richard. It's all just a matter of tolerance and respect. You can do that for the next few days, can't you?
Sure. As long as everyone else can.
Excuse me, Mr. Patrick. Dinner will be ready in 15 minutes. There's no one here to bring in your luggage, so you'll have to do it yourselves. Caroline and I will be busy with dinner.
Well, no one to take our coats. Now we have to get our luggage. What's next? Making our own beds?
You made your bed when you married into this family. I guess you didn't know it wouldn't always be comfortable.
Will you be needing anything else this evening, Mr. Patrick? If not, I'd like to retire for the night. I've left some suitable snack items in the kitchen for anybody who might desire that kind of thing. Breakfast will be ready at 9, unless you prefer a different time.
No, that'll be fine. Mrs. Duckett, is there a reason why Grandfather got rid of the rest of the staff? Have there been financial problems?
I know nothing about your grandfather's financial position. He only said he saw no reason to be paying staff to be here doing nothing when there was only him here. I'm sure you all will get plenty, if that's what you're worried about.
Mrs. Duckett, you're out of line.
Oh, come on, Patrick. She knows why we're here, and she knows we wouldn't be here if we didn't have to be.
Stay out of this, Richard. Mrs. Duckett, I don't know what's going to happen to the estate. But if you wish to keep your employment here, you need to remember your place and its limits. We are no longer the children that you were able to discipline. You work for us, and remarks like that will not be tolerated.
You should not have come here. None of you. There is a curse on this house, and there has been murder done here, and there will be more. None of you are safe. Leave before it's too late.
Mrs. Duckett!
What was that all about?
I have no idea. She's always been so calm and stoic.
It's all an act.
For what?
The stipulation. The requirement that we be here for the reading, or those who aren't lose their share. She probably figures she's in for something, and if she can get some of us to leave, she'll get more.
You know, for once, Richard makes a little sense.
He may be onto something.
What did she mean, though, about murder? Who was murdered?
There's no murder. I've never heard of any murder.
What about your parents? They killed each other, didn't they?
Well, that was the theory. I mean, there wasn't any other explanation, but she said there's been murder here. She seemed to mean in this house.
Well, then, there's nothing to what she said. She was just raving. There has never been a murder in this house.
As far as we know.
Jonathan, why did you have to say that? Now we're going to end up talking about this for hours.
Just playing devil's advocate. Look, none of us have been back here in years. Maybe Mrs. Duckett knows something we don't. Anything could have happened. Something we don't even know about.
Well, I say we just let it go. We could go on and on about this all night and still never know for sure. I do think Richard's right. She's trying to scare us away, and if not, then she's just flipped her lid, and we just need to ignore her. Whatever the case, it was a long trip, and I'm tired. I'm going to bed. The rest of you can stay up all night and go on ad nauseum if you'd like to. I'll see you in the morning.
I think she's right. This is going nowhere. I'm off to bed, too.
I don't know. I still wish I knew what she meant. I don't think I'll sleep at all tonight.
Oh, don't worry. We'll lock the door, and just to be safe, we'll put your unpacked suitcase right in front of the door. No one will ever get past that thing.
I wonder what kind of snack thing she left. I'll have to check later in case I can't sleep.
Long enough? I've been waiting over an hour.
I had to wait to be sure she was asleep. She might have wanted to come with me. I wondered if you'd get my message.
Well, it was subtle, but I took the chance.
I'm glad you did. I've missed you.
You wouldn't be missing me if you hadn't left the city, and I wouldn't be missing you.
Rachel refused to stay there any longer. I had to do what she wanted. It's her money we're living on, you know that.
Yes, I do. But I can't stop thinking about you. This is all so impossible. And this act we're putting on. Insulting each other when I just want to run to you and hold you.
Unfortunately, that's the way it's got to be whenever we're around each other. It's worked so far and it'll keep working.
Not always when we're around each other. Like right now. I'm down at the end of the hall over there. Come with me.
No, look. I hope you'll be here, but only to tell you that we
be that big a thing for you if they find out. You're part of the family. For me, though, it would be a disaster. We can't keep taking chances like this.
Richard, if you're worried about money, I'll have my share. We could go anywhere we wanted to go. We wouldn't have to see any of them again. I mean, it's not like we're a close, loving family. I'd like to tell her right now and just get it over with.
No, we can't do that, especially not now with everyone here.
Then as soon as this is over, we can both make some excuse to be the last to leave, and we'll tell her. We can even leave together, or just stay here a few more days.
Well, maybe. I have to think this over.
You're not sure? You love me, don't you? I know I love you. Please, don't tell me this has all just been some fun for you, some distraction. Please, tell me you love me.
Of course I do. But I haven't just stopped loving Rachel. We have our moments, but I don't want to hurt her. I have to have time to think.
I see. You're never going to leave her, are you?
Well, yes, I just don't know when.
And what do I do in the meantime? Wait in the wings like some understudy who you rehearse with every now and then? I want to be with you now, all the time.
I'm sorry. We'll have to wait. Please, try to understand.
I could ask you the same thing, but I guess I'd be wasting my breath.
Somebody turn on the lights.
I'll get them, sir.
What was that?
Is everyone here?
Yes, I think so.
Which one of you screamed?
Don't look at me. It would be beneath my dignity to scream like that.
I certainly didn't.
Well, it wasn't either of us. Jess and I are in the same room, so we can vouch for each other.
Well, Patrick can vouch for me.
You know where I was, Richard.
Hannah was in bed with me, so you can stop staring at her like that. We were both fast asleep.
You were both fast asleep. How do you know if she was there with you or not?
Because she couldn't have screamed like that and gotten back in bed before I woke up.
I suppose that's true.
Well, I guess you all have someone to vouch for you, but I've got no one to do it for me, so you just have to take my word for it that it wasn't me.
Jonathan, do you have to make a joke about everything? This is serious.
Is it really?
Of course it is. No one would scream like that unless something terrible was happening.
Maybe. Maybe not.
What's that supposed to mean?
The same thing we talked about earlier. Maybe someone is trying to scare us away.
Actually, Alexis has no one to vouch for her either.
Oh, really? This is ridiculous. We all came out of our rooms at the same time. We can vouch for each other.
She's right. None of us could have done it.
Well, so are you saying we all imagined it? I know I didn't.
Wait a minute. There are others in the house.
If you think I'm able to make a sound like that at my age, you know nothing about what time does to a person, Mr. Patrick.
Yes, I suppose that is a little far-fetched. It did sound like a younger voice.
What about the girl, the maid? She answered the door when we got here.
Well, she's in the servant's wing. The scream woke her, but I told her to stay there. She only started a month ago, and I didn't feel she needs to deal with this sort of thing.
What sort of thing? Has something happened here before?
Not in recent times, but long ago.
What do you mean? How long?
Oh, none of you knows the history of this house. Perhaps it's time you did. Did you know that this house once stood on an estate in England?
You're kidding, right?
This house was built several miles outside of London. Your grandfather's father had the house built in 1863. They had quite a bit of money already. Then, when your grandfather was 28, he married a young heiress who had a fortune to match his. They came to live there in 1893, and it was almost like a royal wedding considering both family fortunes.
I didn't know our grandmother had a family fortune.
No, she didn't. Your grandfather's first wife had the fortune.
Grandfather had a wife before grandmother? Way to go, Granddad.
Alexis, please.
Yes, he might not be so exuberant when you hear the rest of the story. Your grandfather and his wife moved to the house along with her mother and younger sister and brother. One night, less than 6 months after the marriage, a terrible scream was heard late at night. When they searched the house, they found nothing. But when they searched the grounds, they found her. She was lying on the ground at the foot of the tower, dead.
Killed herself?
Shh. That's what most people think, and was the coroner's verdict.
Most people?
Yes, her mother believed that your grandfather had murdered her. But when a servant testified that he saw him not too long before the scream in his room was heard, he couldn't possibly have made it to the tower in time to have pushed her.
So he didn't do it. So what's the problem?
Oh, the problem is her mother could never accept the verdict. She and the other children moved out, but she never stopped trying to convince the authorities to do something. And your grandfather did nothing to quiet her when a few months later he married a girl who many believed to have been his mistress all along. That she was pregnant at the time only added to the fire.
Grandmother? Patrick, that means our family—
Shut up!
Yes, your grandmother. Despite the scandal and the questions that were inevitably whispered about town, no one ever looked into the matter further. Soon after the marriage, your grandfather made the decision to move to the United States. And it came as quite a shock when it became known that he was going to have the house taken apart and sent here to be rebuilt. It wasn't just the enormity of the project, but the cost must have been unimaginable for most people.
Most people. I suspect it would be unimaginable to almost everyone.
Everyone except Granddad, of course.
Would you all stop interrupting? I want to hear the story.
Yes, let's keep our thoughts to ourselves. Go on, Mrs. Duckett.
All went well until the workers who had disassembled and rebuilt the house were on their way home to England. There were quite a few of them, so your grandfather chartered a ship to take them back. It sailed out of New York, but was never seen again. No one knows what might have happened, but it most certainly have sunk. How and why is still a mystery.
How horrible. All those men on the way back to their families? It must have taken them some time to put this place back together. They were probably excited to be going home. And their families, they must have been devastated when they got the news.
Oh, they were. They mourned the men, but they were angry as well.
Angry?
They felt cheated. They even accused your grandfather of having a hand in the sinking. You see, he had made an arrangement with them to pay them 2/3 of what he owed them while they were here. But the last third was to be paid by his office in London when they returned to England. He said it was to prevent them from spending it all while they were here and not bringing anything back to their families. Then he only paid a small death benefit, much less than what their pay would have been. There were death threats made against him if he ever returned to England, so he never did. So you see, death has been a part of this house's history from the beginning, and it still is today.
Was Granddad really that cheap that he'd kill all those men just to save a few bucks?
That does seem a pretty radical thing to do. I mean, I know he was cold, but...
Well, who knows? Maybe the cost of the whole thing was more than he expected. If that were the case, I can see him being that cheap.
Would you all let Mrs. Duckett finish?
Yes, what do you mean, Mrs. Duckett? You said there was a murder here? Do you believe the first wife was murdered here?
I do, but that's not all. Your grandfather was also murdered.
That's not true. He was 95 years old. He died in his bed. That's all there is to that.
Well, that's all everybody wants to think. That man walked for hours on this estate every day. He ate healthy foods. He was in better shape than most of you. He had more good years ahead of him. He never would have died in his bed.
Mrs. Duckett, you were in love with him.
No, I had no right to do that. I respected him. I cared for him. He was a hard man, I know, and Lord knows I took a lot from him. I could never love him. Not in that way. He was my brother.
Your brother?
Oh, then why are you?
A servant?
Well, yes.
We were only half-siblings. In those days, it wasn't unusual for the master of the house to take a servant as a mistress. My mother caught the old man's eye, and she did as she was expected to do. When she found she was pregnant, she hid it the best she could for as long as she could. When she couldn't hide it anymore, she was married to one of the male servants. He raised me as his own, but he knew. They all knew, even the old man's family. My mother told me right before she died, your grandfather kept me on because he knew. But we never spoke of it, not once.
You're part of his family.
No, I'm not. That is not my place. I was born to this life and no other. And forgive me for saying this, I wouldn't want to be a part of your family. I want to forget your grandfather, this house, and all of you. This house is cursed. This family is cursed. And there has been nothing but tragedy through all the years. Leave this house, I tell you. Nothing good can come of you being here.
Well, how about that? You think she's telling the truth?
Why would she make something like that up?
To claim some of the money, why else?
To do that, she would have to contest the will. And that could take years and lots of money. And how can she prove what she said is true? Anyone who can verify it is dead. And I'm sure the name Michelson isn't on any birth certificate, if they even had them back then.
Patrick's right. There's no way to prove what she said, but I believe her.
Why? She could tell us anything knowing we couldn't disprove it. I think she's a batty old woman who gets a kick out of trying to scare us. This family is cursed. There's no such thing.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. Considering what happened to all of our parents, there could be a case made for there being a curse.
No, Jess, don't talk like that. Mrs. Duckett's story has me spooked enough.
Yes, all this talk is making me want to leave. But Jess is right. All our parents died in violent ways. What are the odds of that happening all in one family?
Oh, come on, Mary. You don't really believe in such things, do you?
Why not? There are things that have happened all over the world throughout the years that no one can explain.
Well, I suppose you believe in ghosts, too?
Oh, what made that scream last night? None of us did, so who did?
I hate to admit it, but I'd sleep a lot better tonight if that question could be answered. I mean, someone had to have made that noise.
Yes, or something.
Jonathan?
Yes, Jonathan, you're getting very tiresome. The girls are already uneasy. Don't add to their fears.
Patrick, some of us don't scare that easily, and some of us can fight rather well, too.
And I can vouch for that.
Really, Richard?
Can anyone take a joke anymore?
Apparently not.
Well, see, we're at it again. We didn't all imagine that scream. Something is going on in this house. If someone is trying to scare us away, we'll never figure out who if we don't stick together. Fighting among ourselves isn't going to get us anywhere.
As usual, sis, you're the voice of sanity in our chaos.
Thank you. Yes, Jessica, thank you for setting us all straight. This family's bickering is ridiculous.
Well, you chose us, Kate.
Richard, didn't you listen to at all to what Jess said? We need to get along.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you, Rachel. And Richard, don't forget, you chose them as well.
Yes, and he did, and she did, and Mary did, and Richard did. Now that we're all up to date, can we please get back to the present situation? Who wants us to leave?
That's easy. We all do.
That's not helping, John.
Of course not. But it's the truth. Admit it. We all came here hoping at least somebody wouldn't show up because of the stipulation that we all have something to gain by someone else's absence. So much as we protest, we'd all like someone to not be here.
Well, that's not much help.
No, it isn't. And the problem's compounded by the fact that there's 4 couples and 2 sisters who can alibi for each other for where they were when they heard the scream. You follow me so far?
Of course, if one of the couples or sisters are working together, they would cover for each other. They would both stand to gain if there was a larger share. So why wouldn't they work together to try to get it?
Alexis, how could you think that? I'm your sister. How could you accuse me like that?
I didn't necessarily mean you. There are others here.
Yes, but when you point the fingers at everyone, that includes us. Even if you didn't mean us, the others will.
I think it's a little suspicious that the 2 who are proposing this little theory are the 2 who don't have someone to alibi them. What better way to keep us from looking at you 2?
Yes. What better way? But I haven't excluded Alexis, nor myself. I've simply pointed out the fact that it's going to be nearly impossible for any of us to work together when no one can trust any of the others. Unless 2 of you are working together.
The only thing we can hope for is that whatever happened tonight was someone's idea of a joke, and nothing else is going to happen for the next few days. If the person or persons responsible want to continue playing this little game, we'll just catch them in the act, and then we'll see which one of us is this childish.
I agree. And if any of us is doing this, I can guarantee you won't chase Rachel and me away.
Richard's right. Do your worst. Catherine and I will still be here when that will is read.
And don't think that you'll be rid of Jess and I just because neither of us have a man to protect us. We may not all get along, but Jess and I aren't afraid of any of you.
I'm certainly not afraid of any of you either. You're not going to chase Anna and I off.
Well, I'm hoping I can at least trust my own brother and sister, but if I can't, I'll stick around long enough to take my part of the share and then walk away. If they're capable of taking part of my money, I won't want to be around them anyway.
Alexis, we'd never do that to you.
Don't forget, dear, she pointed the finger at us.
I guess that tells me what I need to know.
You're being unusually quiet, John. What do you think?
I think I'm tired and I'm going to bed. It is almost 4 in the morning. I do know one thing, though. I'll be sure to lock my door. Ghosts have a habit of walking through doors and walls.
Oh, Jonathan, I was just starting to feel better.
Don't worry, Mary. Whoever did this isn't a ghost. I just want you to think they are. They're flesh in blood. At least I think most of you are.
Yes, I think we should go to bed.
Well, I think I'll be wasting my time anywhere.
I've got some good sleeping pills if you'd like 1 or 2.
No, thanks. I'd like to wake up in the morning.
Do you really think that I'd try to kill you?
Well, I'd like to think not, but I don't know anymore about any of you.
Well, so far, our stay is off to a good start.
Look, We're all tired and irritable. Let's go to bed. Get a good night's sleep. Maybe things will be better in the morning.
Mrs. Duckett? Everybody! Get out here! Hurry! Hurry! There's been an accident!
Mrs. Duckett! Oh my gosh! Mrs. Duckett! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Is she?
She's dead!
I knew something terrible was gonna happen.
It looks like she just fell down the stairs. Don't make more than it is.
It does seem like too much of a coincidence, though. She tells us that there's been murder here, that we're in danger, and now she's lying dead at the bottom of the stairs. Well, maybe she was pushed.
But wouldn't we have heard something? The noise of her fall or her scream or something? Rachel, your room is closest to the stairs. Didn't you hear anything?
When Rachel takes her pills, she's out like a light. A bomb under the bed wouldn't wake her.
Well, you were in the same room. Did you take a pill too?
No, of course not. I didn't hear anything though either.
I thought I heard something out in the hallway around 5 a.m. Could that have been her checking on things?
I heard someone in our hall around that same time. I wasn't about to get up and unlock the door to see if anyone was there. After that, I was fast asleep, so I didn't hear anything else.
That's odd. That you two heard something around 5? Because I heard something around 6:15. I woke up around 6 and I was trying to go back to sleep when I thought I heard a door and somebody passed by our room.
Oh, Jax, that was probably me. I couldn't sleep, so I went to the kitchen for a snack. I was trying not to disturb anybody.
Didn't hear you come back, though.
I was trying to be as quiet as possible. I guess I must have been doing good, or else maybe you fell back asleep before I came back.
I suppose that's possible. You weren't afraid to be in the house alone? After last night, I thought all you girls would be in your rooms with the doors locked.
When I'm hungry, there's nothing stopping me from getting a snack.
Well, all this conversation is quite interesting, but I think we should really decide what we're going to do about Mrs. Duckett.
Yes, he's right. We can't just let her lie there. Shouldn't we call the hospital or the police?
The police? You don't want the police coming out here for an accident. If they come, they won't leave without questioning all of us.
Do you have anything to hide, Richard?
No, of course not. But if someone slips and mentions that scream last night, they'll be climbing all over the house looking for evidence of something that happened years ago. They'll probably go through our luggage and our personal things.
They can go through my stuff all they want. They won't find anything.
No, but they'll be hanging around here for hours, maybe days. I say if we're going to call someone, we call the hospital. Tell them there's been an accident and let them handle it. They'll probably send out an ambulance and take her away. Patrick can go in with them and take care of the paperwork while we have breakfast.
If we have breakfast, don't you remember what Mrs. Duckett said? The cook isn't in on the weekend. I don't know if that maid can cook, but I certainly can't.
And I can vouch for that.
Go ahead, Jackson. Join the wolf pack. Give them more reason to look down on me.
Oh, Catherine, you're the one that said it. I just thought we could use a little humor right now.
Yes, at my expense.
Come on, Catherine. You know we all get our laughs at each other's expense. None of us are immune from it.
Well, you know, maybe this would be a good time to change that. This poor woman, who, by the way, you just learned was related to you, is lying dead. And you all are more worried about besting each other with insults.
Mary's right. We've got to take the situation a little bit more seriously. I think we have to call the hospital and tell them there was an accident, and we'll just deal with it, whatever happens after that. And we'll of course pay for any funeral expenses or anything they need.
It just occurred to me, does she have any family?
You mean besides us?
Yes, she's been here all these years and we really don't know anything about her.
Yes. It's quite sad, too, when you think about it. She was always around, but none of us paid her any attention.
Well, now it's too late.
If she does have family, I don't know how we could find out. We could ask the cook on Monday. She's been here for a few years, and it was just the two of them and the old man. Maybe they became friends just out of a need to talk to someone. Maybe she could tell us something.
I think the priority is to get her taken care of properly. We just can't leave her lying there like that. It's a little unnerving.
I agree. I think the sooner we get her out here, the better. After what she said last night, she's starting to give me the creeps.
I'll make the call right now. I hope they have a phone book around here.
Patrick, what is it?
Nothing.
Well, what was that in your hand? There must be something written on it. I saw you read it.
No, I'm just a little unnerved about everything. It really is nothing.
Nothing? Don't say it's nothing. I saw how you reacted. Oh, God!
What is it?
Pity poor old Mrs. Eleanor Duckett. She spoke of the past, then soon kicked the bucket.
What the hell is that?
It's a poem, Richard.
I know that. What's it mean? Where did it come from?
I came to use the phone. It was just on the desk. I don't know who put it there.
Well, obviously one of us did.
Who, though? Don't look at me. I'm no poet.
I certainly would never do something like that.
Okay. There's no sense going through the litany of denials. No one is going to admit to doing this.
Thank you, John. I couldn't go through all that again.
None of us could, my dear. But someone here has a rather sick sense of humor using poor Miss Duckett's death to play a joke like this.
Well, is it a joke?
What do you mean?
Oh, it seems more like a threat to me. A threat? It's just one of you using poor Mrs. Duckett's accidental death to scare us. So you think it was an accident? Well, of course it was. Oh, then how did that poem end up on the desk? Who could have written it after John found her? And who could have slipped it unseen onto the desk when we were all in the same room?
John did. He could have come down and found her, written the poem, put it on the desk, and then called for us to come down.
Oh, no, you didn't. You think I honestly had time to go and find a typewriter, make up this poem, type it out, then bring it back here before at least some of you came down? Really?
I guess he's right. I mean, unfortunately, if he didn't, then who did? No one went near the desk except for Patrick.
Me?
Yes, you.
But I just came to use the phone, and I don't know who put it there, and I found it. I found the damn thing.
Oh, we couldn't see your hands the whole time. How do we know you just didn't hide it in your hands? We couldn't see them the whole time.
She's right. He could have done it.
All right, this is getting out of hand. Look, I don't know who did it, but whoever put that thing there maybe thought they were being funny. Well, it didn't work.
So,
on the other hand, they were planning on putting us at each other's throats. I think it's doing the job quite well.
So you think that this and that scream last night are connected? That last night wasn't just someone's welcome to the haunted house practical joke, but this is all just some scheme to scare us away?
Exactly. One of us is trying to get more than their fair share.
One or more of us.
Yes, one or more. And as John pointed out last night, trust isn't exactly a strong point in this family. So whichever of us is doing it, he or she, or both, is trying to use that lack of trust to build up enough fear to scare at least some of us away.
Well, we're certainly not leaving. A few tricks aren't going to scare us away.
Before we get into another round of defending our courage, we really need to decide what we're going to do about Mrs. Duckett.
Yes, I was going to make the phone call. Hello, this is Patrick Michelson at Grayson Hall. There's been an accident. Yes, the housekeeper fell down the stairs. No, she's dead. Yes, can you send someone? All right. We'll go there later today to make the arrangements. Thank you. Goodbye. They'll be here in about 20 minutes. They need to take her to the hospital, make an official pronouncement of death, and fill out the death certificate. Then they'll bring her to the funeral home. Mary and I will go there and make the arrangements, unless one of you want to do it.
No, thank you. I stay as far away from funeral homes as I can.
Well, you're gonna have to make a stop at one eventually.
Really, Richard?
I'm just pointing out a fact of life. We're dead.
Needlessly, as usual.
Sorry.
Isn't anyone else hungry? I'd like to get some breakfast.
She's got a point. I wonder if the maid's around. I wonder if she can cook.
Well, I can cook. Enough to make breakfast anyway.
So can I. Let's go see what we can find.
Next. You and I have always gotten along, so I think I can trust you.
Of course. Why?
I didn't want to mention this to the others, but there's another way that poem could have gotten on that desk. Could have been placed there before she fell.
But how could someone have put it there before?
Unless it wasn't an accident. I think whoever wrote that poem killed her.
How did it go at the funeral home?
Okay, I guess. We did the usual paperwork and arranging for services. We picked out a very nice casket, probably better than we would have if we had known she was family.
Do you really believe her story?
Why shouldn't we? Why would she make up a story like that?
For the same reason that someone is trying to scare us away, the money.
But she said she didn't want any. She didn't want any part of our family.
Well, that's easy enough to do until the day came where she suddenly changed her mind. Oh, I've thought about it and decided that I do deserve some of that money after all.
Well, I for one believe her. Why would she make up a story like that? Anyone else would have laughed after all those years. She would have had job offers all over the place.
She's right, Jess. There had to be a reason for her to stick around. The old man made her life miserable.
I remember coming here when we were kids. I was always scared to death of her, but I felt sorry for her too. The way he would yell at her and tell her that nothing she ever did was right.
I remember hearing her crying more than a few times. Even as a kid, I wondered why she was still here year after year.
What was that? Last night was bad enough, but this is getting ridiculous.
I don't know. That one didn't sound the same as the one last night.
You're right, it did sound different.
I don't know. It sounded the same, just as awful as the first one.
Did you all hear that?
How could anyone not hear it?
Anna was sleeping and I was reading. She nearly jumped out of bed. I dropped the damn book on my foot.
I'm still shaking.
This has gone too far.
I agree. Whoever you are, man up and admit it. You're not going to chase any of us away, so you may as well just not keep your silence.
Well, the three of us are off the hook. We can all vouch for each other. Where were the rest of you?
Like I said, we were in our room.
The four of us were playing cards in my room, and after we were done, I thought I'd lay down for a while and think things over.
What things?
What do you mean? The story Mrs. Duckett told us, the way she died, those poems.
I guess it is all a little confusing when you put it all together like that.
While I was in my room, had to use the bathroom. Losing money always upsets my stomach.
Enough to make you want a bigger share of the will?
No, of course not. I'm not going to lower myself to playing bad practical jokes. That's John's department.
That's true. Where were you, John?
Me? I was in the old man's room.
What for?
We were never allowed in there as children. And I'd always imagined what kinds of treasures he had hidden in there. I pictured gargoyles and statues. You know, the kinds of things you'd expect a man like himself to surround himself with.
And?
Nothing. It was eerier than one could possibly imagine. There were clothes on the dresser and the bed was made. But besides that, you'd swear no one ever even used the room. Not one picture or decoration. It seemed fitting, though. Just as cold and unfeeling as he was.
So far, we have 3 people with no alibi. Where were you two hiding?
I wasn't hiding, and I don't like the veiled accusation. I went to look for that useless maid. I was hoping for a cup of coffee, but she wasn't in the kitchen. So I was about to go to the servants' quarters when I heard the scream.
In the afternoon game, I came down here looking for Catherine. She wasn't in our room, so I came to see if she had gone, like I thought she might, looking for the maid. I found her in there just as we heard the scream.
So the only alibi either of you have is each other?
What does that mean?
It's the same thing we discussed earlier, that quite obviously one of you married couples are working together.
This is ridiculous. This is getting us nowhere. I guess that just leaves you, Elena.
Oh, no, you don't. I was in my room making notes about all of this.
Notes? Why?
Because something is going on here, and I want to have my facts straight in case anyone asks any questions someday.
Questions about what, sis?
Well, I don't know. But I'm beginning to think Mrs. Duckett's story was right. This house is cursed. I just keep wondering what's going to happen next.
Well, I guess we can't verify your story, but it does seem reasonable.
Well, didn't anyone see me come out of the hall there?
I think I did, now that you mention it.
Well, the scream didn't come from that hallway. It came from upstairs.
That's true. It had to have come from somewhere upstairs.
You know, now that I think about it, it did sound like it could have come from the tower.
Are you just trying to scare us again, Richard?
No, really. It sounded like that's where it was.
Yes, I hadn't thought of that until Elena had mentioned it, but it did seem to come from that direction.
Wait a minute. Where's Alexis?
She's right. She's not here.
Has anyone seen her lately?
Maybe she went for a walk.
It's true. She does like to go off by herself.
Even so, that scream was loud enough. I think she would have heard it if she'd been anywhere on the ground. She would have come back here right away.
I don't like this. I don't like this at all. We've got to find her.
Yes, I agree. Let's fan out. We have 2 wings and 3 floors to check.
Alexis!
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 She's not upstairs.
She's not in the east wing.
We looked everywhere in the west wing, even the storerooms. She's nowhere to be found.
She has to be here somewhere.
I don't like this. Something must have happened.
Are you sure you looked everywhere?
Of course.
Did you check the tower?
Yeah, we looked in. Why?
But did you actually go into the room?
No. Why?
Well, there's plenty of nooks and crannies. She could have sat down and fallen asleep. You wouldn't have been able to see it from the doorway.
Oh, come with me. We'll go check it together.
Something's happened to her. I just know it.
Anna, why don't you sit down? I'm sure she's okay. Knowing her, she probably went into town, and she'll come back with a bag full of things she doesn't need.
Sure, maybe. something's happened. I know it. Just tell me.
Richard, why don't you come outside with us?
Oh my God, no. No, this can't be happening.
Sorry, Anna. It looks like she fell.
It's not a joke. You know it isn't. Let's head upstairs so you can lie down.
My God, it was her scream we heard.
Mrs. Duckett was right. This house is cursed.
No, let's not get all excited about curses and ghosts. It was an accident. She probably just leaned too far over the railing and fell.
Can we be sure of that? I mean, first Mrs. Duckett falls, then Alexis falls. 2 fatal falls in less than 24 hours? I don't buy the odds of that.
Jax, what are you saying? That you think that they were murdered? How could that be? If they were murdered, then one of us would have had to have done it. We're all accounted for.
All but you.
Rachel saw me come out of the hallway.
That's right, I did. I think.
Rachel?
Well, everybody was coming and going. I'm not completely sure.
What about Robert? He said he was reading while Anna was sleeping. Could he have snuck out after she fell asleep without her knowing it?
No, he was in bed by the time the scream woke her up. Robert can't move that fast. He's not the Flash, I'm sure of it.
What about that girl, the maid? She's around here somewhere, but you never see her. She wouldn't last in my house, I'll tell you that.
She served us drinks while we were playing cards, maybe 15 minutes before we heard the scream.
Can we please not refer to it as the scream? It was Alexis falling to her death.
So what should we say? Alexis's last word?
My God, Richard, you're even more cold than I thought.
He has a point. I mean, we heard a scream. That's all we knew at the time. What would you rather have? We mention Alexis every time we talk about it?
Maybe we could just say her scream.
I don't know. When you say it like that, I just can't help but picture her falling.
How about we just don't talk about it at all? All this talk isn't going to get us any further than it did last night or this morning. Obviously, one of you thought that scream last night was funny for some reason. And now there have been 2 accidents. It doesn't mean any of them are connected.
I don't know. What about that poem? Doesn't that give anyone else the creeps?
Another bad joke.
Is it really?
What do you mean by that?
I didn't want to bring up this before, but have any of you considered the possibility that it was written before she fell?
But that would mean that
someone knew she was going to die.
You can't be serious, John. You're basically accusing one of us of murder.
That's ridiculous. I know this family is capable of some things like these bad jokes, but murder isn't one of them.
Wonder who that could be.
Well, it couldn't be family. We're all here.
I'll see. That maid is probably retired for the night. That's strange. No one was there, just this envelope. It's for you, Rachel.
You son of a bitch! How could you?
How could I what?
You know damn well what.
Rachel, what is it?
Read it out loud. I want everyone to know.
Alexis loved Richard as more than a friend. The game is now over, the charade at an end.
It's a lie. How can you believe that? Where did it even come from?
Don't worry, Rachel. It's just someone's idea of some stupid game they're playing. By the way, what happened to Patrick?
He was here just a moment ago. You don't think that he...
I'm right here. I just went to have a drink. This is all too much. Was that the doorbell I heard?
Well, you should know.
What's that supposed to be?
You didn't just leave this at the front steps?
Do you think that I left this there?
Well, you snuck out of here, then the doorbell rings, and we find that outside.
All right, well, explain to me how I got outside, came back in all the way around through the servants' store, and came back into this room without being out of breath.
He's got a point.
Well, someone had to have done it. We haven't hallucinated this whole thing. The poem is right there.
It had to be that maid. She's the only one we can account for.
I'll go look for her. We'll get her in here and make her tell us what's going on.
I can't believe you thought I did this.
Well, who else? We're all here. Right now I don't know what to believe. Why would somebody write something like that if it wasn't true?
To be mean? Or to get us fighting among ourselves like we are now? Richard says it's not true and poor Alexis isn't around to defend herself.
What would Alexis have to defend herself about?
It's nothing, just another bad joke.
Just show her, Patrick. We can't all just forget it.
It's true. I suspected it for a while, so I confronted her about it, and she said that it wasn't just an affair, that they loved each other.
Loved each other? Richard doesn't know how to love. I knew it. I knew he was lying. And how could she? My own cousin? And you knew? And you didn't tell me?
She was my sister. I couldn't betray her. I did tell her to cut it off, but she just kept saying they were in love. I'm sorry, Rachel, but my sister came first.
I guess I can understand that. Where's that bastard anyway?
He went to look for the maid.
She shouldn't be that hard to find. He should be back by now.
I'll go look for him. He's probably hiding out in the kitchen.
Or maybe he's in the maid's room with her.
Rachel, I know you're angry, but...
I know. It's gonna take me a while to calm down. Hopefully I will before I see him. Right now I just want to scratch his eyes out.
Oh, please. Haven't we had enough violence for a while?
Mary's right. This affair thing is for Rachel and Richard to work out on their own. Let's hope to God they do it quietly. We've got bigger problems at hand. Like what's going on with these deaths and these poems? Either someone's trying to make these accidents look like murders, or these accidents haven't been accidents.
You really think that one of us killed Alexis and Mrs. Duckett? That's a pretty unsettling thing to think about.
Yeah. What you're saying is you think that one of us is a murderer. And if that's true, are any of us safe?
That is the question. But why is this happening, and who's doing it?
The money, of course. The fewer there are, the more each get.
That's right. If we can't be scared off, we'll be killed off. Gets the same results.
Suddenly, the money doesn't mean that much to me. We should get out of here.
No, I'm sorry, my dear, but I am not running away. Look, I don't know which one of you it is, but you don't scare me. So go ahead. Try and kill me. I'll get you first.
Jax, wait! Don't leave me here with them.
Anyone besides Catherine want to leave?
Well, I do, but I'm not going to. Hopefully we'll find out whoever you are so I can know who killed my sister.
So we've decided that these are just accidents and someone's idea of a joke?
I think we can be pretty sure of that.
So what are we supposed to do? Just gather all of us in the same room for the next few days?
I'd be okay with that if Richard the rat wasn't included.
Speaking of Richard, where is he?
Well, Patrick went to go look for him. He should be back by now.
I hope nothing else has happened.
Oh, Robert, don't talk like that. If anything ever happened to Patrick, I don't know what I would do.
You'd what, my dear?
Oh, Patrick, I was so worried.
Worried? What for? What's going on? What did I miss?
We've decided there's a murderer amongst us. Where's Richard?
Nowhere to be found. I looked in every room. I even caught the maid coming out of the shower. Luckily, she was wrapped up in a towel.
Lucky for her or unlucky for you?
Oh, Jonathan, Patrick's not like that.
All men are like that.
You're doing it again, John.
I'm sorry, Jess. I just can't help it sometimes. Anyway, Patrick, you're saying?
I looked in every room and I couldn't find him.
Well, he couldn't have just disappeared.
As much as I wish he would.
There is the servant's door. You could have gone out that way.
Why? To run away for a bit? Maybe to escape Rachel's rage and let her cool down for a while?
Or maybe he's our murderer and he decided to bolt before we found him out.
That is a possibility.
So what do we do? Search the grounds? There are acres and acres of forest out there, and I, for one, am not tramping around through them looking for someone who might murder me when I find him.
We need to find the maid. She might have seen him. You didn't ask her, did you, Patrick?
Of course not. I closed the door as quickly as I could.
Oh, Patrick. Such chivalry!
John.
That's all right. I'm not ashamed to say I know right from wrong, unlike some people in this family.
Well, I agree with Rachel. Someone should find her and bring her here.
I'll go.
Oh, no, you won't. I don't trust the thoughts you have in your head right now. I'll go.
Wise decision, Jess. I don't think we would want to wait that long for him to bring her here.
Oh, could you all please stop talking like that? I, for one, am more concerned about where Richard is. I don't care about Jonathan's sordid mind.
I agree. I want to know where Richard is before I go to sleep tonight. You should go, Jess.
So now what?
I guess we wait for the maid. I mean, they can't take that long. She should be getting dressed by now.
I hope she's not only dressed, she's making dinner. I'm famished.
You could eat at a time like this? If I just found out what you did, I wouldn't be able to eat for days.
I always eat when I'm stressed. The more stressed I am, the hungrier I get. Right now, I could eat a whole horse and still have room for dessert.
Jess, what is it? I went to the dining room to look for the maid and I found this on the table. It's another poem, but it doesn't make any sense.
What does it say?
The walls have eyes with secrets hid behind them. The answers wait there for those who dare to find them.
What the hell does that mean?
Like I said, it doesn't make any sense.
The walls have eyes?
Maybe it has to do with that painting.
Maybe it's like one of those old movies where there's slits behind the eyes and there's someone on the other side who can see what's going on in the room.
No, that's ridiculous. You can see that the painting is all intact. Anyway, people don't do that. They just do that in the movies.
I don't like this. First Richard disappears and now there's another poem. I mean, do you think it has something to do with him disappearing?
It could, I suppose, but what?
We need to get the maid in here. She could have seen something.
I'll go check again.
You know, Richard could have left that poem.
But I was just in there and there wasn't anything on the table, and so that means Richard must be hiding somewhere, and he put it there after I left.
Did you check the shower?
Oh, Jonathan, must you?
No, I'm serious. Maybe he and the maid are in this together. Well, Mrs. Duckett said she just started a couple of weeks ago. She could have hidden in there until he was gone, and, well, then none of us would know the difference.
You've got a twisted mind, Jonathan.
It runs in the family.
Speak for yourself. Sit down. There's no reason to be nervous. Your name is Caroline, I believe?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dodd has disappeared. You didn't happen to see him in the swing, have you?
No, sir. I was in my room taking a shower and...
We know about the shower.
Oh, go on.
Well, as I said, I was taking a shower and just before I got in the shower, I thought I heard a door close. It could have been the back door, our door, sir.
And you're not sure of it?
No, sir.
Where were you when my sister fell from the tower?
I don't know, ma'am, when she fell.
What do you mean when? You must have heard the scream.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but I didn't.
You're lying. You had to have heard it.
Oh, wait. It could have been when I was listening to my new record album.
Even with music, you'd have heard it.
No, ma'am. Mrs. Duckett didn't like my music, so I always use headphones.
Headphones? No wonder you didn't hear the doorbell.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear anyone ring. I forgot Mrs. Duckett isn't here now.
That's okay. It wasn't anything important.
Oh.
That's all you can tell us?
Yes, sir.
One more thing. Did you know Mr. Dodd before he came here yesterday?
No, sir. I don't know why you think...
It's not important. You may go.
Thank you, sir.
Wait, will dinner be ready soon? I'm hungry.
About an hour, ma'am.
An hour? I can't sit around and wait that long. I'm going to my room. Maybe a good hot bath will help me to relax.
Well, it's obvious that she didn't know Richard. She clearly didn't know why I was asking her.
I think I'll change before dinner.
Good idea. Why don't we both freshen up?
Yes, sure, I look terrible.
Oh no, you look fine. You always do. I think I'll go lie down for a while.
Well, I'd like to go for a walk, but with Richard probably prowling around out there, I'm not leaving this house.
I'll go with you, sis. There's no way he would take on the two of us at once.
I'll stay here. And if he shows up, he won't dare show up while I'm here.
Excuse me, sir. I brought some wine for everyone while they're waiting for dinner. Shall I bring it back later?
Oh, no, you can leave it. They'll all be filtering in eventually. Oh, Caroline.
Yes, sir.
You're certain that you didn't know Mr. Dodd?
As I said, sir, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Well, if you do see him, you'll let us know, won't you?
Yes, sir. Will that be all?
Yes. Oh, Caroline, one more thing. There's been some strange things going on around here, and if you'd like to leave, we would understand.
Thank you, sir, but I'll be fine.
Oh, thank you, John. That's so nice of you.
Oh, of course, Elena. I poured it especially for you. I suppose you'd like one too, Jess.
Well, as long as you're pouring.
Oh, yes.
And what's that supposed to mean, especially for me?
Well, I'm especially pouring this one for Jess as well. What do you think it means?
I think I'll just pour my own, John.
Do you really think I'd poison you?
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure of anything right now.
Oh, come on, Elena. He's not going to do it right here in front of everybody. I mean, that would be a dead giveaway.
Look, Jax, that's a terrible pun.
I think it was pretty good, actually.
Well, I'll drink mine. I watched you pour it. The whole bottle would have to be poisoned for this glass to be.
Well, we're This is my second glass.
Has anyone seen Richard?
Not a sign of him.
Where's Rachel?
She's still in her room.
Really? The way she was talking about being hungry, I'd have thought that she'd be down here already, chomping at the bit.
That's true. Maybe someone should go check on her.
I don't know. She might be sleeping. I wouldn't want to wake her.
Oh, I don't think that she's sleeping. Not after finding out about Richard and Alexis and then Richard disappearing.
I'll go check.
I hope you're right. If she's sleeping, she needs to sleep.
Well, she also needs to eat. That dinner should be ready any minute now.
Oh, God, no! She said Rachel said she's in the bathtub!
Rachel!
Get her out of there!
She's not sleeping!
Oh, Rachel.
Get her on the back! Is she breathing?
It's no use, she's gone.
No.
I found this on the dresser.
Not another one. This can't be happening.
Rachel tried washing her troubles away. Now in the water, she is destined to stay.
So she didn't just fall asleep and slip under? I was hoping that was the case.
Who's doing this?
It has to be Richard.
Why?
Well, he's the only one we can't account for.
Not necessarily. We're all in our own rooms.
We were out walking.
So, the only one who was alone then was you, John.
I'll grant you that. But, like I said before, it's more of a possibility that one of these couples could be working together.
Look, John, I don't blame you for trying to deflect suspicion away from yourself, but I really think it's far-fetched for you to try to point the finger at one of us. After all, we all have someone who can vouch for us.
I know that I'm going to be the top of anybody's list, but I think it would be a big mistake to dismiss any of the rest of you.
But you seem to forget that I was down here by myself and Mary was up in our room by herself.
Patrick, what are you doing? Why do you want them to think that we could be guilty?
Oh, don't worry, Mary. We all think everyone is guilty. That's been evident all along.
And we can't forget about Richard. He could be anywhere.
And he's the one with the best motive. He probably killed Alexis because she would end the affair. And then he killed Rachel because he was afraid she'd divorce him and leave him out in the cold. With her dead, he could claim her share of the money.
Maybe not.
What does that mean?
The letter said that anyone not attending the reading of the will would have their share forfeited. If Rachel's share was forfeited, then he would get nothing. It's likely that Granddad only mentioned family in the will, which is why it makes sense one of you married couples would be working together. You can alibi for each other, knowing full well that one of you would still be in the will.
What about us? We're both in.
That's easy. You each stand to get a lot more if the rest are gone.
Well, all we're doing again is pointing fingers, and it's going to get us nowhere. I think it's time for us to think about what we're going to do. We can't just leave bodies lying around this house. I think we need to call the police. They've got to be called eventually, and I think if we wait, it's going to make us look bad.
If we wait any longer, there might not be any of us left to make the call.
Well, what are we going to tell them? We've already waited longer than we should have.
I say we tell them about Richard. I mean, he's the most likely suspect in all of this, and once the police start looking for him, we'll all be safe. This love triangle thing, I'm betting, is the reason behind all of this.
I like that idea. It does seem logical.
I can't think of any better thing, and it does make sense.
I just hope you're right.
Dinner is ready.
Perfect timing. Even more so.
Which one of you is Patrick Michelson?
I am. How can we help you?
I'm Detective Arthur Simmons. You brought the body of Eleanor Duckett to the hospital this morning?
Yes. Why?
Well, it's normal procedure to do an autopsy in any kind of accidental death. So one was conducted. You said she fell down the stairs?
Yes.
Well, there are no signs of a fall in the body. No bruises, no abrasions. Her neck was broken, but not from the fall. It was forcibly broken. And the bruising around the neck is consistent with strangulation. It appears there's been a murder here.
Oh, detective, you don't know how right you are.
So one of these was found after each of the bodies was found?
Yes, and after Richard disappeared.
And you think this Richard had something to do with the 3 deaths?
Well, that only makes sense. He killed Alexis to end the affair. Then he killed Rachel before she could divorce him, and he could get all of her inheritance.
What about the housekeeper?
That one I'm not so sure. Maybe it was just to throw us off track. Make us think there's another reason for the murders. Killing her first would make it seem like there was a connection to the story she told us about our grandfather.
Then why disappear? It only makes him look guilty. And these poems, what are they all about? These first 3 are pretty clear, but this one about the walls having eyes, it's nonsense.
I think it's a riddle. I'm not sure what the purpose was, except maybe to make this all look more cryptic than it already is.
And you found it after this Richard, what was his last name?
Dodd.
Mr. Dodd disappeared?
Yes.
And you think he left it to confuse the rest of you?
Well, then again, it only makes sense. It just adds to the idea that there was more to it than him getting rid of the women in his life. I think it was just a distraction.
I suppose so. Sure seems like a whole lot of nothing.
Well, when you find him, maybe he'll explain it.
If we find him. He could be miles away from it by now. I only wish you would have called us right away. What kind of car was he driving?
He isn't. His car is still here.
He's on foot? Well, that should make it easier. Well, I've got to go and call in and get things started. As I told everyone, no one is to leave here without my permission.
Oh, don't worry about that. We all have our reasons for staying.
Your own reasons? Well, I can't look into that right now. I'll be back tomorrow.
Oh, John, very funny. Could you at least try to be serious for a little while? 2 of our cousins have been murdered and you act like there's nothing to it.
Patrick, don't you know if I don't find some way to laugh, I'll cry? Oh, this whole thing, it's been such a shock. I thought I knew Alexis, but I didn't. And to think how she hurt Rachel right before she died? Why, it makes me want to tell her what I think of her now. Then I feel bad for thinking that way.
I'm sorry, Johnny. It's just that we're all under a lot of stress.
That cop gone?
Yes, he just left. He said he'll be back in the morning.
In the morning? I was hoping he'd stay here all night or at least leave someone. I know I won't get any sleep
Well, I don't think they'll find him before morning, so you better prepare yourself for a long night.
Any news yet?
Only that the cop is gone and we're all stuck here with Richard on the prowl and no one to protect us.
Don't worry, Jess. I'll protect you.
That's really comforting coming from someone who may be trying to kill us.
Do you really think that Jonathan is the killer?
I don't know. I just meant that it could be him. It could be any of you.
Well, it could be you too.
Yes, it could. The only one who is claiming innocence is the one who is accusing everyone else. And the one we can't trust is the one who's claiming innocence when accused. And of course, we are all accusing each other and we're all claiming innocence.
Here we go again.
I say we all sleep in here tonight. That way we can keep one eye on each other and the other eye out for Richard.
Oh no, I am not sleeping in the same room as Robert. It's bad enough being in the room next door to him, listening to him snore. How do you sleep with that racket, Anna?
I have earplugs. They're very good. I can't hear a thing when I've got them in.
Do you happen to have an extra pair?
Sorry, just the one.
Well, maybe I can go into town tomorrow and pick up a pair.
No, the inspector said that no one can leave, remember? We're just going to have to make do with what we have. Even the cook can't come back on Monday.
What? This is outrageous. Having to cook for ourselves? No servants except a maid who is completely unqualified for the job. We should never have come in the first place.
We had no choice. We need my share of the inheritance.
Not this badly.
Yes, this badly. Even more than that.
What do you mean?
Jax, what's wrong?
Well, there's no point in keeping it hidden any longer. We're in way over our heads. Without my share of the inheritance, we're going to lose the house. And we're probably going to have to sell most of what we own. And you can forget about servants. We either stay or you start looking for some good cookbooks.
What? How could you? How could you let this happen?
How could I? We're in this mess because of you. The most expensive house, most expensive cars, fanciest clothes, servants, parties, theater every weekend.
So this is all my fault? I didn't make you spend the money.
No, you didn't. But every time I tried to bring up how we couldn't keep spending this way, you let me know just how miserable you were. I gave in just to try to keep you happy.
I can't help the way I am. I was raised in a house with servants. I was an only child and my parents doted on me. You knew that when you married me. You knew I needed those things.
I married you because I loved you. I hoped that the money that I had would be enough to give you everything you needed. But I was wrong. Now there's only one way out. We have to stay no matter what.
Jax, what about Catherine's family? Can't they help at all?
No, I talked to her dad and he said she was my problem now and I'd have to deal with it.
Call me a problem?
I'm sorry. I promised myself that I would never tell you. It just came out. I think too much has come out. But now you know. Now you all know. You know how important this is.
We also know now that you've got a reason to get as much as you can.
That's right. Kill off some of us and get more for yourself.
How dare you? Jax would never do something like that.
Well, until yesterday, I didn't think any of us would, and now here we are.
Listen, let's stop this. You all got to eat while I was talking to the detective. I'm going to go see if there's anything left in the kitchen.
You know, I could use a drink. Any chance we can find that maid?
I'll go look for her.
Well, if we're not going to sleep in here tonight, then what is the plan?
We sleep in our rooms as usual, I guess. Just make sure your door is locked.
You know, maybe since Richard and Rachel's room is empty, Patrick and I could sleep in there. That would put us further away from Robert's snoring.
Ooh, you'd really sleep in a room where someone just died a few hours ago? There's nothing that could make me want to do that.
Well, you haven't heard Robert snoring. Even with earplugs, I don't see how you can sleep through it. It must even shake the bed.
Well, to be honest, this is the first time in a long time we've slept in the same bed. Or even the same room.
I I knew those earbuds didn't really help.
No, it wasn't the snoring. Not just the snoring. Robert and I haven't been close for a long time. We get along well enough, but there's no real feeling left. I think neither of us wants to be alone, so we stay.
Well, if you're going to tell them our secrets, why not tell them everything? Tell them the real reasons we sleep in separate rooms. Go ahead. Tell them why you've kept me away for years.
Robert,
Tell them how you never wanted kids, how you're so afraid of the possibility that you shut me out for years. How you've used your grandfather's money to keep me in a loveless prison of a marriage. Well, now you know. You all know. I'm a greedy little man.
Robert, you've done well financially. Surely you don't need grandfather's money.
Oh yes, as well as I've done. It's still a drop in the bucket compared to your grandfather's estimated worth.
You've lived with us all these years just for the dollar signs?
Yes, as well as I've done, it's a drop in the bucket compared to your grandfather's estimated worth. Even an eighth of it would give me more than I could have ever imagined growing up in an apartment in Queens.
And more than an eighth would be even better, wouldn't it? It's up to a sixth now.
I know what you're implying, but an eighth would be more than enough. You can suspect me all you want. I'm going to bed.
If she lets you in.
Oh, she'll let me in. She's too afraid to sleep alone.
Well, maybe she should be more afraid to sleep with you.
How dumb do you think I am? Without her, I get nothing.
Well, what do you think?
I've given up thinking. I'm just going to be careful from now on. I'll see you all in the morning.
I threw together a sandwich. There's more in there if anyone's interested. Oh, Caroline was in her room. I asked her to bring in some glasses.
Is there anything here? Yes, we wouldn't want to tire you out.
Catherine, there's no need for that.
I'm sorry. When I'm stressed, I get cranky, and I'm definitely stressed right now.
We all are. I'll finish this glass, and then I'm going to bed. If not, I might end up finishing the whole bottle and a few more.
I'll do you one better, sis. I'm going to take this to my room, and then we'll go to bed.
I'm right behind you.
Well, Patrick, now you know how broke I am. Bankrupt, really. Much as I would like to leave, I can't. I probably need that money more than anyone else here.
Robert seemed pretty desperate for the money.
Yes, but he only wants the money. I need it.
So, are you confessing?
Hell no! Just figured you should hear it from me first before somebody else starts talking about it.
You should have been here for Robert and Anna's little spat. I never would have guessed.
Well, I'm leaving it in the detective's hands. I don't want to know any more secrets. My head is spinning as it is. I think we should all go to bed.
I agree. That cop will be back in the morning. Let's hope he can sort this all out.
I just hope he finds Richard.
I just hope I can get some sleep tonight. I wonder if there are any cotton balls in one of the bathrooms.
I hope he finds us here alive.
Oh.
Who's there?
It's me, of course.
I got your note. What do you want?
I want to change our arrangement.
What kind of change?
Not small change, I assure you.
Look, we gave you enough already. Leave us alone.
I will, for 20% of whatever you two get.
What?
You're gonna get us both in trouble.
Why do you need some of ours? Anna will get a good-sized chunk.
You heard. Our marriage is more than shaky. If she divorces me, I'll hardly get anything. I want to make sure I have enough to happen.
It's too much.
It'll seem like pocket change if your secret comes out.
Robert, please. You can't tell. It'll ruin us.
Imagine my surprise when I arranged for a girl that night to spend in the city, and when I open the door, there's my wife's cousin.
What do you think Anna will do when she learns how you found out?
You heard our story. You think she doesn't know how I make up for her coldness?
I'll have to talk to Jess. We'll let you know.
Don't wait too long.
Tomorrow. We'll go for a walk after lunch, and you can join us.
I don't know. Alone with the two of you?
If everyone sees us leave together, we can hardly come back without you and have them find you dead later. You'll be safe.
All right. You better have the answer I want to hear.
I'll do my best to convince her.
Whatever you do, it better be good enough. Quick, get back to your room.
What about you?
I'm on my way to the kitchen for a snack.
Good idea.
Who's there?
Oh, John, it's you. I'm on my way to the kitchen for a snack. Patrick stopped by our room to let us know there's some leftovers, and he said we could make sandwiches.
That sounds delicious.
That roast beef was really good. It should make a really good sandwich.
Mind if I join you?
You're not afraid to be alone with me?
Not as long as we keep the lights on and our backs to the wall.
They're all in bed yet. Shall I wake them?
No, let them sleep. Any chance you've got a cup of coffee somewhere?
Of course. Some of them, especially Mrs. Farber, can be quite difficult if their coffee isn't ready immediately when they wake up. Mrs. Farber even complains that she can't have it brought to her in her room. I told her there are too many of them for me to give her that kind of personal attention.
Seems they all can be a little difficult. I suppose all that money has made them that way. All that money sure doesn't seem to have brought them any good. I guess they're finally learning money isn't everything.
In the month I was here before the old man died, I saw plenty of evidence of that. He was a mean man. The way he treated the servants, especially Mrs. Duckett, was terrible. I felt sorry for her.
I've seen a fair amount of death in my years. I've often wondered why a good young person has to have their life cut short. And from what I hear about this old man, it's a wonder he was allowed to live so long.
I think he was just too mean to die. Come on, I'll get you your coffee. I'd rather talk about something more positive.
Nobody's going to know. For nobody knows how much there is or how much there should be. And anyway, there's plenty there, so no one's going to even question it.
Well, I'm just worried. Suppose one of them does know. The money won't do us any good if we're in prison.
We're not going to go to prison. The only person who knows how much should be there is dead, so he's not going to say anything about it.
Well, what if he isn't? What if none of us is doing these things?
So now you think he's a ghost? Your fears are getting the best of you. This house is not haunted. There's no such thing.
Mrs. Duckett said that the house was...
Oh my God, Mrs. Duckett. She was batty. How do we know that she didn't make up that whole story to get rid of us so she could get the money?
Well, someone obviously didn't want us to know anything else.
Oh, somebody didn't like her. We all had our reasons for not liking her from when we were children. She ran this place like a reform school.
Judging from the way you all turned out, maybe she had good reason to.
Stop it. I'm tired of you putting my family down. You're all nice when we're all together, and then I have to listen to the litany of faults when we're alone. You know, some of them are on to you. They told me so.
Well, good. After this is all over, if we're lucky, we will not have to ever see them again. Except at funerals, maybe.
Very funny.
Good morning. Sleep well?
Well, I certainly didn't. I don't know how you did.
I don't either. Perhaps it was getting all that off my mind and out in the open yesterday. Finally allowed me to not think about it all night like I've been doing for so long.
Well, it may have helped you, but it certainly did the opposite for me.
Well, at least you won't have to worry about it until after the reading of the will. Just make sure you're there.
Oh, you don't have to worry about me. That's one appointment I won't miss.
And I'm sure none of us will. Of course, unless we're all dead.
Jonathan, will you please stop making remarks like that?
Yes, the level of your bad taste is beyond comprehension.
You should have seen us when we were kids. We all wanted to kill him.
And I'm sure at least one of you would still like to.
Hopefully we can prevent that from happening. I do need all of your cooperation to do that, though.
Oh, Detective, we didn't know you were here.
When I got here this morning, the maid said you were all still in bed, and I didn't want to disturb you. I took the opportunity to have a cup of coffee in the kitchen with her. She said she'd never seen anyone go out that way.
Well, he must have gotten out of here somehow. He must have snuck by her when she was busy or something.
Or in the shower.
We forget about the damn shower.
Why? Her inattention to her job probably let Richard get away. And now we have to be here living in fear of what he might do next.
Catherine's right. We might have at least some idea of where he was if she'd been on duty rather than taking a shower in the middle of the afternoon. She should be fired when this is over.
Thank you, Mary. I'm glad somebody else understands.
You people can argue about this all you want. It won't get you anywhere. I need to talk to all of you. Is everyone here?
Robert and Anna are still in their room.
So are Jess and Elena.
Could somebody get them in here? I'd like to talk to all of you at once.
I'll go upstairs.
I'll get the girls. Jess? Elena? Open up! Come on, this isn't funny! There's something wrong. They're not answering their door.
They'll be down in a minute. What's going on?
Elena, Jess, open the door!
Oh, God!
Break it down!
You'll never break a door down like that.
Is there a key somewhere?
The maid. She must have one.
Go get it.
What's going on?
It's Jess and Elena.
What's happening?
Their door, it's locked, and there's no answer.
Oh my God.
Maybe they're gone. Maybe they got smart and left during the night.
They wouldn't have done that without telling us.
She has the master key.
Here, give it to me.
Wait, maybe I should go in first.
I don't care who goes in first. Just open the damn door. Those are my sisters.
I've got it.
Oh, no. I mean, don't touch anything. I'm sorry, but you all need to leave the room before anything more gets disturbed.
Oh, no. I can't believe this. The door was locked. How could anyone have gotten in?
Someone must have a key.
Carolyn is the only one that has one.
Not necessarily. There has to be another key somewhere.
You mean one of us could have the key?
Maybe Richard has it.
Oh, Richard's long gone. He did what he did and he left. Why would he come back and kill the girls? His problem was his wife and his mistress.
Maybe he thinks there's a way he could get Rachel's share. The fewer of us, the better.
I still think he's gone. What do you think, John?
I don't know. We haven't really ruled out any possibilities, so I just don't know what to think.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. So if there's another key, how would someone get it?
Get the maid in here. She must know of any other keys.
If I find out that one of you had the key, I'll kill you.
Calm down, Jax. We don't know anything for certain. Maybe Simmons can explain something to us.
Right now, I can't tell you much. It appears they've been smothered, but we won't know anything until we get an autopsy report.
Smothered? But how could someone smother them both at the same time?
That was my question exactly. They could have been drugged beforehand, but again, we won't know that until we get the autopsy report. I'd prefer not to speculate about anything right now. There's one other thing. This was found on the dresser.
Patrick, what does it say?
I don't believe this. There's no point in even reading it. It's just meant to be hurtful.
Hurtful to whom?
To Jax, mostly, but to all of us,
Read it.
I guess.
I don't care what it says. I want to hear it.
John, you read it. I can't do it.
I see what you mean. Here it goes. It's fitting the sisters were both found in their bed, for that's how they made their living, it's said.
That's a lie! They'd never be involved in something like that.
What a cruel thing to say. One of you is beyond forgiveness for writing that. I only wish I knew who you are.
Just remember that it's meant to be hurtful. Don't let it get to you. That's just what whoever's doing this wants.
I hate to be the one to tell you this, but it's true.
What? How would you know?
You're lying!
I know you want to believe that, but I'm not. A few months ago, I was in the city for a couple of nights. When I was in the hotel bar, across the room, at a table, they were sitting with a couple of men. They didn't see me, so I thought I'd surprise them and send them over a couple of drinks. When I told the bartender, he said, that might not be a good idea because they're already there with a couple of clients. I asked him what he meant, and he explained. He said they were regulars, and the men were businessmen who usually call for them when they're in town.
You knew this and you didn't tell us?
Would you have really wanted to know? I thought it was best if the rest of the family didn't know. I even left before they saw me, so I wouldn't embarrass them.
So you could have written a poem.
Oh, no, you don't. If I wrote it, would I have admitted that it was true? There's obviously someone else here who knew, but isn't going to admit it.
He's right. Whoever writing these poems seems to know an awful lot of family secrets only a few of us know. Anna knew about Alexis, and Robert knew about the girls. I wonder how many other secrets we're hiding from each other.
Wait a minute. Anna and Robert knew both secrets, and it would have taken 2 people to smother the girls.
Oh, no, you don't. There's no proof 2 people did this.
That's right. That's right. It's too early to tell exactly how this happened. I suggest you stop trying to do my job. Your observations may be helpful, but no one can be accused or excused at this point. You won't solve this by getting on each other's nerves. In fact, I think you're playing right into the killer's hands.
He's right. Can we just try for one day to not point fingers?
That sounds like a sensible plan.
Detective, what's going to happen to my sisters? You really have to cut them up like that? I just can't bear the thought of it.
I'm sorry, but it's the only way we can tell exactly what happened. An autopsy was required in any kind of murder investigation. I understand how you feel, but you do want the killer caught, don't you? The autopsy may give us a lead.
Of course. I just can't bear the thought of it.
Catherine, why don't you take Jax to your room? We'll let you know when breakfast is ready.
It's okay. I don't think I could eat anything anyway. But I will go lie down if you don't mind.
You go ahead, Catherine. I can bring something up to your room if you'd like.
Maybe just some coffee.
I've got to call in and get the boys out here. I'll stay here until they get here. Go about doing your own business. I'll be back once I get the coroner's report.
What about the key? We need to ask the maid.
What key?
Well, the door was locked, so somebody had to have a key to get in and then lock it again on the way out.
And where did the maid get the key from?
She keeps it in her pocket. She said that's where she always has it.
I'll have to talk to her before I call in.
I'll go get her.
By the way, Detective, any progress on finding Richard? There are those of us here who think he's still around.
So you think he could have done this?
Well, that's what some of us think.
And what do you think?
Well, like I said before, we don't know for sure what happened, so we can't really rule him out.
Suppose you're right. If he's hiding somewhere, and has a key, he could get in and out very easily, especially when you're all in bed.
You wanted to see me?
Yes. The question about how someone could have got into a locked room and then locked the door behind him has come up. I understand you have the key with you at all times?
Yes, sir, I do. Why?
And you didn't give it to anyone last night?
No, I never give it to anyone else.
So you're the only one that could have gotten to that room last night?
You think I did that? Why would I?
That we don't know, but you admitted that you have the only other key.
Not the only one.
What do you mean?
Mrs. Duckett had a set for the whole house. She always had them with her.
Mrs. Duckett, I never thought about that. Well, wouldn't they be with her when they took her away? And maybe it's in her things at the police station.
I don't recall seeing any set of keys in her possessions.
That means whoever killed her has the key.
He's right. Whoever killed her has the keys. Now they have access to the whole house.
So now what do we do? The killer can open any door. What good will locking do them now?
Not much at all.
So what do we do?
I suggest you put something in front of the door. Something heavy, or at least something that'll make noise if somebody tries to get in.
That's all we can do? Can't you get someone out here to guard us?
I only have a small force available. I can't afford anyone to do a job like that. If you want a guard, you're going to have to provide one yourselves.
What do you mean?
Take turns staying up and patrolling the house by yourself.
Oh, that's a great idea. Just like the fox in the henhouse when it's his turn to stand guard. Whose side are you on?
Then you're going to have to do it two at a time.
Detective, there are 7 of us. That means one person would have to take an extra shift. That doesn't seem very fair at all.
Well, then perhaps you can get the maid to help.
Of course, there's a possibility that one of these 2 married couples is working together. I suggest we split each husband up so he has a different wife.
Sounds like this family's already been doing that.
Robert, you're getting as bad as Jonathan.
Yes, Robert, this is not the time for that kind of humor.
Oh, come on, Patrick. I think it was quite funny and on target as well.
It's still not the time.
Well, I'm not going to be matched with anyone but my husband. What if I was matched with the man who was the killer?
Is a possibility. So I guess we're back to stacking things against the door. Or we could go with Elena's plan of having us all sleeping here together.
Oh no, I already made that clear.
Well, then it looks like stacking is the only plan we have. Now that we've got that settled, I'd like to get something to eat. I'm sure breakfast is probably cold. Hope Caroline can heat it up.
All right, go get something to eat. I want to call in and talk to the coroner.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm ready to go up.
What do you say, Robert? Shall we go now and finish the game up?
I say let's finish it out.
Oh, Robert, let's go up now. I'm tired.
You go on up. I'll be up shortly.
I'm not going up alone.
You go on up. We'll be right here. No one's going to be able to sneak around with a few of us awake.
He's right, Anna. We'll be right next door.
I wish that were a comforting thought, but it's not.
You don't think that...
Right now, I don't trust any of you.
Just go on up. It won't take that long.
It better not.
Well, I think we're going up too.
We hope to see you in the morning.
What's that supposed to mean?
It means I hope no one kills me in the middle of the night.
We all hope that. Good night.
What do you think about Jackson, Catherine? Last I saw him, that was at dinner. He looked like he was in tough shape.
Well, losing both his sisters at the same time would be pretty hard on a man. And what was with all that poetry? It doesn't make any sense.
Maybe your grandfather's allowance wasn't enough for them.
I guess we'll never know now.
What about Richard? If he's still around, he's found a real good hiding place.
This estate covers a lot of ground. He could be out there in the woods, hiding anywhere.
And I still don't understand why Simmons didn't send anybody out to look the grounds. Maybe he already thinks that he's already gone.
Ah, it did seem that way, but you heard the man. He said he always has a small force. Maybe he just doesn't have the manpower to do a thorough search.
I suppose. And I win. Well, I better go upstairs. Otherwise, she's going to be down here looking for me.
Do me a favor, would you? Leave a light on. I think I'm going to go get a snack.
Sure. I'll see you in the morning.
Are you sure about this?
What will we do without the money?
We'll find a way to get along without it. We're gonna have to change our lifestyle, and I know you don't like that, but at least we'll have a life.
Just have to find a way to adjust. I know I definitely want to get out of here.
Coffee's ready, I hope.
Was a few moments ago. Should be by now.
I hope so. Robert's snoring was worse than ever last night. He made some of the most horrid noises.
I'll get it. Good morning.
Maybe not so good.
What do you mean?
I'm afraid there's been an accident. Your cousin and his wife were found in their car at the bottom of a ravine, about 2 miles from here.
Jax?
Yes, Jackson Farber and his wife, Catherine, I believe.
Oh no.
What happened?
It appears they were driving fairly fast and missed their curve.
Fools. They must have decided that the money wasn't worth their lives. And now they've lost them too. And in an accident.
Not really an accident. Their brake line was cut.
Cut? You mean intentionally?
But
I'm afraid so.
How could the killer possibly have known far enough in advance to cut their lines in the middle of the night?
That's an easy one. All the brake lines in the cars out front were cut. I checked on the way in.
So you're saying that if any of us had tried to leave, we would have been killed?
More than likely, there are many steep hills leading away from here, and any car without brakes most certainly would have crashed.
That's horrible.
It must be Richard. He's out there somewhere. That's the only answer.
Could have been any one of us. Anyone could have gone out in the middle of the night and done this.
That's ridiculous. I don't even know what a brake line is.
No. But your husband would. What is that hobby of yours again, Patrick? Collecting classic cars? And don't you have a wholly stocked garage where you work on them?
So what? Anyone could talk to a mechanic and find out where everything was.
Help! Somebody help! Hurry! She's dead!
Oh, how could this happen? Robert, come with me. Let's go to my room.
Don't take him too far, Mr. Carter. I need to talk to him.
Where am I going to take him with no brakes?
How could somebody do
just don't know.
This was on the dresser.
Another one?
I'm afraid so.
Anna gave Robert an icy cold shoulder. Now it appears it's become even colder.
How awful!
Yes, but perhaps it's a clue.
How?
Who's the most one to be angry about being shut out?
But why would he incriminate himself by writing a poem?
Well, for precisely that reason. To make us think he wouldn't write it, and to make us think somebody else would have.
Well, if he didn't do it, that means that one of the three of us remaining. And I know that me or Mary didn't do it, so it has to be John.
Well, so you say. I'm sure he would say differently. The problem is, it points to none of you, except for the husband.
Oh God, I just thought of something.
What?
Those noises I heard last night. Maybe that wasn't Robert snoring. Maybe those were Anna's painful cries as she was being murdered.
Oh, what a horrible thought.
Yes, but perhaps it's an accurate one. How could anybody be laying there beside her and not know? I don't know of anybody that could sleep that soundly.
So he's finally made a critical mistake. I would have thought he was smarter than that.
Well, maybe so. Maybe he just got angry and he acted without thinking.
I just can't believe it. I went in and I found her like that.
What do you mean you went in?
We had an argument. I wanted to hold her, but she pushed me away. Told me not to get any ideas. I said we needed to get something back in our marriage if we're going to make it last. She told me to stay on my side of the bed and be quiet. I waited for her to fall asleep. I went across the hall to the old man's room. I left both doors open, so if I heard anything, if anything happened, I would be able to know to go in. When I woke up, her door was closed. I went in and I found her. Who could do something like that?
Did you see this on your way in?
It's pretty sick.
The problem is it points the finger directly at you.
Wait a minute. You don't think I did this?
Well, you must have. You got angrier and angrier last night. You argued
That's a
with her,
lie.
and you wrote this poem to make it look
No,
like
I
the others.
didn't.
Then how do you explain it?
I told you I was in the other bedroom. It has to be one of the others.
So easy to say it was one of the others. The problem is, all the evidence points directly at you.
I don't need to hear this. I'm going back up. I need to be alone for a while.
Stay out of your room.
Of course I will. Do you really think I'm going to sit there next to her like that? I'll be in the old man's room.
Detective, do you think he might be telling the truth?
Perhaps, but he's had an awful long time to come up with a good story. I'd like to take him down to the station, see if he cracks after a couple hours. A lot of people make mistakes when they have to tell their story over and over.
It's hard to believe that someone could do that to another person, especially as a wife.
Well, you know the old saying, familiarity breeds contempt. But in this case, I think it's lack of familiarity that's the problem. I'd like to turn my attention back to the original subject. I'd like to see your other cousin's room.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about Jackson Catherine.
I think we all did. And I feel a little guilty about it. But considering finding Anna like that and all that blood...
Oh my gosh, Patrick, please. I don't want to think about it anymore.
You're right. We need to think about something else.
Could we go get some breakfast? I know it may sound odd, but even with all this happening, I'm still hungry.
I am too. Maybe we're just getting used to death. Care to join us, John?
I will later. The detective has asked me to show him Jax's room, and I intend to do so. I'll Show them all around.
All right. Does that seem strange to you?
Detective, in this family, nothing seems strange. This way.
Find anything of interest?
Just this.
Oh, not another one.
What does this one say?
Jackson ran off in fear of his life. He ended up killing himself and his wife.
Well, how did that get into their room? Someone must have put it there after they left.
It's Richard. It has to be. He has to be hiding around here somewhere. Why don't you find him?
I told you, I only have a small force available. I can't afford anyone to tie him up like that, especially when we don't even know if he's around.
Well, he has to be. No one else could be doing these things.
Robert could. He and Anna were the only ones who knew the secrets behind the poems.
That's true. Anna did know about Alexis, and Robert knew about Jess and Elena. Robert certainly could have written the one about Anna.
Yes, Detective, you need to talk to him and ask him about that.
I suppose you're right. Could somebody go up and get him?
Come with me, John. I think it's going to take more than asking.
Sure.
I still think you need to find Richard. He has to be nearby, sneaking into the house and doing these things and sneaking back out. If you kept someone here at night, you'd find him, and then you'd know I'm right.
Mrs. Michelson, Richard could be around, but we don't know that.
Detective!
What is it?
It's Robert! He's hanging in the bathroom!
Stay here.
Dear God, what is happening?
I know, Doc. It's crazy. I'd put a stop to it if I knew what the hell was going on. No, I've got nothing. The only lead I have is about one of them who disappeared. They think he's hiding somewhere and coming back in to do it. This one seems to have hung himself, though. Distraught about finding his wife that way, I guess. Maybe he didn't and just couldn't live with the guilt. Who knows? He sure can't tell us. All right, just send them as soon as you can. It's going to be a while before they get here. They're kind of tied up right now.
You've got to do something.
Like what? You all say you didn't do it, but obviously somebody did something.
It's Richard. Find him and this will all be over.
It could take days for the men I have to search this entire estate. And besides the fact that we don't even know if he's here, he could be held up somewhere off the property. I can't search the whole countryside.
Then stay here at night. Have one of your men take a car and wait inside. And then, when he comes in, well, we can help you get him.
That sounds like a good plan.
Well, I suppose you're right. If he's the one doing this, it could be the only way we can catch him. I'll call in and make sure somebody picks up the car right away.
Excuse me, sir. I thought you should see this.
Robert told lies to hide his deceit. To pay for his lies, he was hung with a sheep. Where did you get this?
In the kitchen. I was about to start lunch and it was there on the counter.
He's been in the house in broad daylight?
Oh, calm down. I'm sure he's not still here.
He could have snuck in while we were all out of this room.
While we were having breakfast.
That's right. We were in Jax's room and you were in the dining room right before we found Robert.
So he didn't kill himself.
The poem told us that.
Well, I'm sorry, but I thought it was one of John's practical jokes.
Do you really think I'd be that crass?
Well, with your reputation, what do you expect?
Wait a minute. The two of you were near the kitchen right before we found him.
You think that's
Okay, no more bickering. I'm beginning to see why all this is happening.
Thank you, Detective.
Don't thank me. I wasn't defending you. I just don't want to hear it anymore.
May I go now? I should start lunch.
Yes, of course.
So what's the plan?
Well, I suggest someone remains in here at all times. Until tonight. Then I'll hide somewhere, and you can all go to bed knowing you're safe.
I I can't wait to feel like that, to actually be able to relax. A nice, warm, hot bath before bed.
I suggest the men remain dressed. I may need help to subdue him.
That's a good idea. You wouldn't want me chasing them around in what I sleep in.
No, I'm not even going to ask.
And that's a little bit more information than we need right now.
I'll stay here and eat lunch later. You should all go make sure that the doors and windows are locked.
That's a good idea. I hadn't thought of that. Mary and I will get the east wing. John, you check the west.
It's fine with me.
Well, that's my last hand. I am ready for that nice hot bath I've been thinking about all day.
I'm ready to go up too. I'll be up shortly. Well, gentlemen, how about a nightcap?
Patrick. I don't mind if I do.
You son of a bitch, you did it!
You just killed your own wife! How could you?
Lying is not
What
gonna
the
help
hell's
you!
going on in here?
He just killed Mary. He threw the radio in the tub.
That's a lie! He killed her!
Settle down! Sit down, both of you. I don't know who did what, but apparently one of you did something. And I can see I can't get any truth out of any of you. I'm going to have to call this in. What the hell? Damn it. I'm going to have to go use the phone in the library and hope that hasn't been tampered with. In the meantime, I'm going to have to trust one of you. It appears you've had the most motive to do all this.
What?
Well, as the eldest in the family, you wanted it all for yourself.
That's ridiculous. I have more money already.
Yes, we know. We've been looking into your family. You've been putting quite a bit of money away when your grandfather's company, which you run, has had some inexplicably bad years.
What are you trying to say, detective?
I think you know, Mr. Michelson.
If you think I took the money?
We don't think, we know. The auditors have found some unreported sales and some missing cash.
I've never taken a cent.
Well, I can't stand around here arguing with him. Here, keep an eye on him.
Are you crazy? You just gave that gun to a killer!
Sit down, Patrick!
You're not going to get away with this.
You're the one with all the cash. And all that's gone on here points to you. And all the evidence, everything, points to you, Patrick!
I never took a cent!
Of course not. You took thousands of dollars. Do you really think I didn't know? I could have turned you in. But it played too well into my plan. I even kept the person who knew about it from turning you in. You all helped me create this little play, this scenario that's been so much fun to watch. The family secrets were so helpful. They provided so many red herrings. But now it's time for all this to end. But first, I want you to know why this happened.
I know why. Is having all the money for yourself that important that you had to kill your family to get it?
Huh, Patrick. You didn't pay much attention to Mrs. Duckett's story. This isn't about the money. It never has been.
What the hell are you talking about?
I'm talking about Granddad's first wife. My great aunt.
What?
My grandmother is the sister who left here with her brother and her mother. Despite that servant's testimony, they knew Granddad had done it. They just couldn't figure out how. There had to be a way for the old man to have gotten from the tower to the tower faster than people thought possible.
That's ridiculous. Did they think he had some magic power, or did they come up with some other fantasy?
No magic power. Just a secret passage.
A secret passage? They watch too many old horror movies.
No. There is a passage. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to be sure you know the whole story. You see, the problem of proving it was how to get into the house to look for it. My father studied architecture and engineering for more than a reason to just get a job. He then set about to charm Granddad's youngest and most favorite daughter. And as you know, he succeeded. And they were married. During their visits, he took advantage of every time he was able to sneak away from the others and take some measurements. And those measurements showed that there was space in the wall that couldn't be accounted for. It took several months to find an entrance. But when he did, he was surprised about just how extensive the passage was. You couldn't just get to Granddad's room from the tower. You could get to any of the rooms in the house.
My God, that's how you got in and out when the doors were all locked.
Yes. And well, I did have Mrs. Duckett's keys. But back to the story. After my father found the passage, he sent a letter to my grandmother telling her about it. 2 days later, as I'm sure you remember, he died in a car wreck. His brake line had been cut. It wasn't too hard to figure out who was responsible. Once again, it couldn't be proven, but there was no other reason for someone to do it. It was most certainly your father, and it did prove to be Granddad's greatest mistake.
I suppose you want me to ask you why.
Well, I do want to keep you interested. It was his biggest mistake because he underestimated just how deeply my mother loved my father. 2 days after the funeral, I found her hanging in the attic. In her pocket was a letter saying that she couldn't live without him. So she also wrote that she couldn't be the shame, she couldn't bear the shame of knowing that her family was responsible. The letter read, "My family is evil. make them pay for it.
I don't believe that. She'd never say that about her own family.
You obviously don't know my mother very well. She knew immediately that he had it done. She also knew that he couldn't have done it himself. Your father was almost certainly the one. And my grandmother had told her what my father had found and what it proved. After all that, Patrick, it made her see the family in a whole new light.
I still don't believe it.
Oh, I have the letter if you'd like to see it.
That won't be necessary.
Good. Because I'd hate to waste my time going to go get it. And I really want to finish the story.
So there's more.
Quite a bit more, actually. We decided to honor my mother's last request. The first to go had to be Granddad's other children.
What?
Don't you find it a little bit strange? The way all of Granddad's other children and spouses died in all these accidents? Especially the way your parents died. How likely is it that they could have shot each other simultaneously?
But the police report said that it was an accident.
But the police don't always get it right, as we'll find before all of this is over. Anyway, Uncle Phil and Aunt Margaret, you remember them? They were fairly easy. Out there on their boat in the middle of the ocean with nothing around but a speedboat passing by, riddling their gas tank with incendiary bullets. Oh, there was quite an impressive explosion.
You bastard!
I'm sorry. They had to be done. Now, Uncle Jack and Aunt Marie were a little bit trickier. We had to tamper a little with the fuel gauge on his plane. Oh, he thought he had plenty of fuel. So I'm sure it came as quite a shock when the engine stopped and they found themselves falling out of the sky. The tough one was your parents, Patrick. We obviously weren't going to get them to shoot each other willingly, even as much as they hated each other. I got them to take me along on a hunting trip. When they weren't paying attention, I grabbed your mother's gun and shot your father. After that, it was just a matter of using his gun to shoot her. Then we just had to position them so it looked like they had shot each other simultaneously. Please, don't do that. We had this all planned to end in the library. Sort of like the solution to a game of Clue. We always planned that you should be last. The others could have happened in a more random order. But they happened pretty much the way we had planned.
We? So Richard is involved in this.
suppose he hid out in that secret passage the whole time.
Oh, no. He is in the passage. But I'm afraid he's in no condition to do much of anything.
You mean he's been dead this whole time?
Yes. I thought it was a stroke of brilliance to make everyone think that he was still around. He did such a great job in the role as the Red Herring. By the way, I don't think we've been properly introduced to my cousin, Caroline.
Cousin?
Well, you don't think I smothered both Jess and Elena by myself? She's been a big help in some of the others, too. I don't think I could have put Mrs. Duckett on the stairs by myself.
Why Mrs. Duckett? Was it because she was grandfather's half-sister?
No. That had nothing to do with it. She had to be the first to go. I could hardly have gone sneaking around her with her going through the house at all hours of the night checking on things the way she did. And I couldn't be sure she didn't know about the passage. If she did, it would have spoiled everything.
So you killed her just to get her out of the way?
Yes. And I did feel a little bad about it. But it had to be done. I do have to thank her for that story she told. It really helped me set the mood for everything. Her warning was right on cue. And that scream in the middle of the night, I don't know how she did it, but it was great. The way it made some of you wonder if this place really was haunted.
This is incredible. How long have you been planning all this?
Since the day my mother died. She wanted her family to pay, so they have.
But all of us? So many deaths to avenge your aunt and your mother?
Not just them. You're forgetting about all those men on that ship.
And you seem to have forgotten that there's a detective in the kitchen. You've given me enough information to put you away for the rest of your life.
And you're forgetting I'm the one with the gun.
Detective, don't come in here. He's going to kill you.
Did someone call me?
Yes, he's got the gun. He's going to kill you.
Oh, I don't think you'll kill me. Will you, Jonathan?
No, Arthur. You've been far too much help for me to do something like that.
What the hell is going on here?
Sit down, Patrick. I haven't finished telling my story.
Everything is ready in the library.
Thank you, Arthur.
You're in on this too? Why?
When my mother died, the first officer to arrive was a sergeant who helped me take her down from the rafter. He was the one who found her letter. When he saw Granddad's name, he told me a story. It seems one of the workmen who helped rebuild this place fell in love with a local girl. He promised to return from England after collecting his pay and marry her. Soon, after learning about the ship going down, she found out that she was pregnant. She came to Granddad and asked for his help. He told her that the man's death benefit belonged to his family in England, and since they weren't married, she had no right to ask for anything, and he kicked her out after calling her a tramp and other names, and telling her that she should be ashamed. That woman had a baby girl, and he he struggled to raise her until she met an understanding man who married her and helped her raise the child. That child married Alfred Simmons, and they had a son. That son became a policeman. And in an incredible coincidence, was there to read my mother's letter.
This can't be happening. It's like a bad dream. You're supposed to uphold the law. You're supposed to stop things like this from happening. How could you be a part of this?
Because I grew up hearing that story. I grew up hearing how hard my mother and grandmother had it because of Patrick Michelson. My grandmother died young because of all the hardships she endured because of his cruelty. And all those young men having to die just to hide his guilt.
Hide his guilt?
You haven't realized that yet? You want to enlighten him, Arthur?
Those men knew about the passageway. There's no way they couldn't have. He couldn't have them going back home and chancing have them telling somebody. He had to make sure that didn't happen.
You see, Patrick, the sins of the fathers do come back to visit the children. And to visit the fathers, too. Mrs. Duckett was right. Granddad was murdered. Caroline snuck Arthur in that night through the passage. He used the passage to get in and smothered the old man. He arrived with the ambulance and convinced them that a 95-year-old dying in his sleep wasn't suspicious. So no autopsy was done. So now you know the whole story. I think it's time we adjourn to the library so the story can end.
You can't really think you're going to get away with this. How will you explain that you're the only one left? You're the only one left to survive. Everyone else is dead.
Oh, I'll be long gone before any of this gets reported. And Caroline and Arthur will testify that I left 2 days ago before the killings began. Apparently, I'm a bit of a wimp when there's danger to be faced.
I've known you since we were kids. I never realized that you had such a twisted mind.
Well, I am a Michelson. Fortunately, I am a Carter as well. But you see, any blood that I've gotten from my mother is tempered by the fact that she was adopted.
Adopted?
Yes. She knew from the time our grandmother died. Grandma didn't want to die without telling her. She made her promise not to tell anyone else. I guess she didn't want her to think she was like the rest of them. Granddad wanted another child. But Grandma didn't want to go through another pregnancy. The first 3 were all so hard on her. She convinced Granddad to adopt instead. But he insisted that no one ever know. He even sent Grandma away for several months, claiming she needed to be in a rest home of sorts because of her previous problem pregnancies. She came home with the baby, and everyone thought what they wanted them to think. It goes to show that if you do it right, you can make anyone believe anything you want them think it's time.
You can't seriously think this is gonna work. If we're all dead, they're bound to suspect you. Someone had to commit all those murders.
That is true. And when the police read your suicide note, they'll know you're the one who did it.
Suicide note? If you think I'm willingly gonna write a suicide note, you're crazy. You can kill me, but I am not gonna help you get off by writing any note.
Oh? But you already did. Well, you typed one. On the same typewriter the poems were written on. The one that they'll find in the library with only your fingerprints. Patrick, you can't talk your way out of this. We've been planning this so long, we've got it down perfectly.
So why am I killing myself? I'd like to know my reason before I did it.
Remorse. And the realization that your plan isn't going to work. As you said, the police will figure out that the last one alive is the killer. Turns out you figured it out too. And you just couldn't face the prospect of going to prison for life. The remorse is for killing your wife. You didn't expect it to affect you as much as it has.
There's just no limit, is there?
No. No more stalling. Please, come peacefully.
Well, that's that. It's finally over. You had better get going, Jonathan. I can't wait too long before I have to call this in.
Oh, I will soon, Alfred, but I think first a toast is in order. Caroline, will you please pour us some drinks?
Sure.
I do hope this plan of yours works, Jonathan. If we slipped up anywhere, I sure would hate to suffer the consequences.
Don't worry. We did it. Everything has been planned out and executed perfectly that no one will suspect a thing. None of this is going to point to any of us.
Well, I'll be glad to get out of this creepy old place. Secret passages and holes in the walls where you can walk with other people without them knowing. I always wondered if Mrs. Duckett was watching me. It felt like someone was.
Where are those eye holes anyway, Jonathan? I've looked and looked and I can't find them anywhere. They're not behind that picture, are they?
No. Nothing cliche as that. They're just little spots in the grout where the wall's missing, just small enough to see through, but not big enough to know where they are unless you know exactly where to look.
And that poem you wrote about the walls having eyes, that sure had them stumped. In fact, I think it even made them more nervous.
It was a nice touch. And that scream in the middle of the night, it was great the way it made all of them wonder if this place really was haunted.
Personally, I'm not so sure it isn't.
Well, this place is bound to become a legend for a long time to come.
Grayson Hall, the old haunted mansion where the ghosts of an entire family roam the halls at night.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan. I still have to stay here tonight.
To our success!